Hey, it's Kevin Lawton with the New Warehouse podcast here at MODEX 2022. I am in the booth joined by the president and CEO of Toyota Material Handling North America. His name is Brett Wood. So Brett, welcome to the booth. How are you?
Great. Thank you for having me. Great to be here at the MODEX show, seeing so many people looking at all the material handling products that are out here today.
Definitely. This is the place to be for material handling, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, so welcome to the booth, and obviously we're here at MODEX, very exciting to be back in person. So you're with Toyota Material Handling North America. Obviously Toyota is a very large company, and there's a lot of different branches of Toyota. So talk to us specifically about your branch. Give us a little brief overview of what it is that you guys do.
Okay, so my elevator speech, Toyota Material Handling makes material handling products. Mm-hmm. The main product is forklifts, industrial equipment. We also offer solutions, like for batteries and systems and so forth. But it started with the forklift industry,
right.
And we've got now 5 factories in North America. And the Raymond brand is also part of the Toyota group.
Yes, we know Raymond. Yeah.
Good. Toyota is headquartered in Columbus, Indiana, and that's our main headquarters and facility. We also have a facility in East Chicago that makes very large products under the Hoist brand.
Okay.
And then Raymond is headquartered in Greene, New York, and also Muscatine, Iowa, another factory. And then recently in Toronto, Canada, we have a company that makes racking.
Okay.
Constant racking, and Constant is the name, Conorack, and they make that. They're the number 1 racking supplier in Canada.
Oh.
So, and then Toyota also acquired a couple of years ago Bastion Solutions.
Oh yeah, Bastion Solutions. Yeah.
So a lot of automation, conveyor, robotics.
Yeah.
So it's more than just forklifts nowadays, and especially with customers, trying to be the solution provider to the customers to provide whatever they need for their environment, their application. But we've got about 11,000 associates, 11,000 people. I say families. We've got 11,000 families we're responsible for, including our dealers that supply and sell and support our equipment and service our equipment. And we make a forklift every 4 minutes.
Every 4 minutes. Okay. So by the time we finish this, there will be about maybe 3.5 forklifts made. That's
good.
Pretty interesting. Yeah. So now obviously working in material handling. I'm sure you guys have seen just the craziness, right, of things that have happened over the last year. So with all that's going on and all that's kind of been spurred from the pandemic and just the total kind of change in the way that we live, in the past 2 years. I mean, as CEO of this company that's providing something that's very critical to making everyday lives happen and get the things that we need. What keeps you up at night?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
I get that every once in a while, and or they say in another way, how do you sleep at night with the craziness that's going on in our world today? Sometimes I start it with a little joke. I say, well, I actually sleep pretty well. I sleep like a baby.
Yeah.
I get up every 2 hours crying. Sometimes looking for a bottle too, but seriously, I do sleep really well because I'll talk. If you want, I'll talk about 2 or 3 things that kind of keep me up at night. But I do feel like a company like Toyota and Raymond and Bastion, we're putting together a lot of countermeasures to handle some of the challenges. So, for example, COVID is a big issue facing all of us still. It's lingering, right, and the pandemic. But at our companies, we've actually, because of COVID, we've actually accelerated some of our digital marketing, digital training. Now we can do training anywhere and wherever you are in the world. It's probably going to happen, but it just happened a lot faster because of the pandemic. Now we're doing virtual tours of factories. If people can't visit your factory, now we've got it on virtual. And then virtual training with VR even is now.
Yeah, with Raymond, I experienced it. Incredibly
cool. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, that's where our industry is going in that type of direction. So, and then another thing we did with as a result of the pandemic, we put together a playbook, if you will, and if there's ever another pandemic or some situation like that, we're going to have a resource that we can look at to see some kind of best practices that we learned from the recent situation. So then another thing that keeps me up is the global supply chain. The global supply chain is in disarray.
Yeah, every channel you go to, they're talking about the global supply chain.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
And remember, a couple years ago, it was toilet paper, right? Nobody could get toilet paper.
Yeah.
And that put supply chain in the mainstream media. Those two words were never really that popular until recently.
Yeah.
But it's nothing like I've seen in 32 years at Toyota. It is global. It's not isolated to North America. And interesting point has been maybe there's been a lot of analysis like why this has happened.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like there's been two major causes. One was just the really volatile demand.
Right.
A lot of economies just injected funds and during COVID especially to kind of boost their economies. So that made it hard to predict, hard to forecast for a lot of industries.
Yeah.
But then the second point was that combined was a perfect storm with decreased supply. So you had disruptions in the supply chain. You had COVID, like mandated shutdowns.
Yeah.
You had people not working. Workforce shortages. People changing jobs. So you had less trained people. Even containers were a challenge.
Yeah.
There was really a global shortage of containers.
Yeah.
That has to do a little bit with the China and U.S. trade imbalance. So you've got containers going one way but not the other direction.
Yeah.
And then you've got less containers because they're more expensive to build because of the cost of metal and steel.
Yeah. And then we had some containers stuck in a canal too, right?
Stuck in a canal, stuck in the California
The
ports.
Yeah.
And not being able, again, tying in back to not being able to find people to unload them. It was just like I said, somewhat of a perfect storm. Just to give you an example, one of our companies, prior COVID, would spend about $12 million on international freight, just getting components from outside of the U.S.
Yeah.
Last year, $26 million.
Wow.
So it went from $12 million to $26 million.
Yeah. Incredible.
Basically, everywhere you go, everything is doubling in costs, and so that it's been a challenge. And in our world, in our forklift world, you can usually order a forklift and get it delivered in, say, 3, 4, 5 months. Now, unfortunately, depending on the model, it's 12 months or more.
Yeah. I experienced that firsthand, actually. I tried to get some Raymond trucks. And,
oh, really?
Lead time is out there, yeah.
It's out there, and it's true for everybody.
Yeah.
So it's unusual times, for sure.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do to address that is, we're putting together like a lot of teams of people. We're meeting every day on it. It frankly is our number one project.
Yeah.
To try to reduce the lead time. We've developed a lot of good long-term relationships with our suppliers, and I think that's starting to pay off. So we look at a supplier as a partner, and we feel like if we try to improve their business, even if they're supplying to other competitors, we still think it's in our best interest to bring some of the Toyota principles, Toyota philosophies, just-in-time, production system type, TPS philosophies to their business to help them get better. So we're starting to do even more of that. We're also doing something we call Genshi Genbitsu, which means go and see with your own eyes.
Okay, all right.
It's one of our core values, core principles at Toyota. And if a supplier starts to struggle, then we go visit them and actually send some of our senior managers to spend time with them and treat them like we would with our own factory.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that helps a lot too, especially during challenging times.
How is I'm curious, like the suppliers, when you go and do that, like how are they receptive to that, or is there some friction sometimes?
No, you touched on a good point. You got to get over the point that we're it's not like we're here because we're unhappy with you.
Okay.
So you do got to get past that at first. We're here to help.
Okay.
And it is a mindset that needs to. But if you've worked with this partner, I like to say partner instead of supplier, for a long time, they've already got that kind of relationship.
Gotcha. Okay.
So and then we've got examples of using our TPS principles, with our suppliers, not just in our own factories, but with our suppliers. We've got a great logistics team that matter of fact, there's stories of going out during snowstorms and trying to help them with their containers and parts. We even got a story of there was a trailer sitting I think at a rest stop somewhere and sleeping, and we offered to. One of our managers got in a minivan and went and got the parts out of the trailer just so we could get it back to our factory and keep our factory running.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, that's fine. And but literally, whatever it takes.
To get it done.
Get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then maybe the third thing that you would say might keep me up at night is the labor shortage. Having enough workers and talented and trained workers, I think everybody's relating to those challenges wherever you go. Restaurants, hotels, you can tell that there's new people or less people than there were before.
Yeah, absolutely.
So at our factories, we're trying to make sure that we've got the enough talent and the right talent to build the products that we need to. But there's with all the changes going on in the world, there's people staying home more. It's a challenge. So we've actually just this last year created some task forces.
Okay.
We combined it with our dealers. So that was great to have our HR team from our factories and our corporate meet with our HR teams all around the country at our different dealers and to gauge, best practices, what they're seeing, what they're doing to overcome. Drive through job fairs during the COVID days when you didn't even get out of your car, and so it's been real creative, and I've enjoyed seeing the creativeness come out of our team in some of those challenging times. As a matter of fact, we're about to launch a playbook about how to hire female technicians.
Interesting.
More female technicians, mechanics, and we had a task force work on that for the last couple of months, and they came up with a really good plan. So I'm excited to get that out there.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's something that we've talked about previously on the podcast, actually, and I forget her name. I apologize to her, but I think that she was working for one of the dealerships or something of that nature. And she's kind of gone over to the field technician side or something like that. So we should definitely dig into that deeper.
I think that's a great topic. First of all, our industry is short on mechanics.
Right.
So that's always been an industry challenge, and mechanics are very valuable. I mean, they bring in the profit for the dealers.
Right.
And so that what we find, you train someone, and then maybe they go to the car industry or something, or they go to different. So being able to hire them, train them, and then retain them. But secondly, to get more of a diverse technician field,
right?
Especially with females, and our industry's changing. The products are changing. It's the products, as you know, they're not so grease and gears.
Yeah. Okay.
A lot of it's software.
There's a lot of software.
A lot of software programming that goes involved with some of especially the Bastion type of products and the Raymond products, and so I think it's kind of an evolving world that might be able to attract different types of people that we've had in the past.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's a great thing, and I think just like you said, when you're running up against this labor shortage, you have to get creative in the way that you find talent, and then like you said, retain talent is the biggest part. And I know that you guys at Toyota do a lot of things to be able to do that and really create a great environment. The overall TPS, deals and things of that nature. I mean, I think it's a great place to work from what I heard and understand. So
it's about the culture, I think, too.
Yeah.
And having a good culture where you wake up every morning and you want to go to work, but you're also empowered to come up with new ideas, Kaizen, continuous improvement.
Yeah.
So anyway, those are two or three things that keep me up. You know what? And they're somewhat interrelated, right? With COVID, supply chain challenges, and then labor shortage.
Yeah.
So you've got lack of truck drivers, people being out from COVID, and then that impacting the supply chain. So it's interesting how those three do intersect a little bit, and I'm anxious for the time to get get some of that behind us, and
that would be nice.
and get back to more of the pre-normal world.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that hopefully we're on our way there. I mean, certainly seeing so many people at MODEX here in full effect and eager to be out here is certainly a good sign, hopefully, for the way we're going and the direction we're going in. I'm curious, as you're here and as you're looking around and at the different things that are coming to the material handling industry, what do you think stands out the most to you, and what's the most intriguing?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a couple things. Mm-hmm. One is the shift in our forklift industry towards electric.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And the shift towards electric, which is good. Mm-hmm. Roughly last year, about 70% of forklifts sold in the U.S. were electric.
Oh, okay.
All right. It wasn't long ago, it was 50-50. Yeah. So it's growing really fast, way faster than the automotive industry.
Right.
Yeah. Adopting electric for obvious reasons. And then I think that shift brings with it new battery technology.
Yes,
chargers,
a lot going on with
batteries.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Maybe you've seen walking around the show lithium ions and trends in that regard. And I think alternative energy for the future is something that'll be a growing and stable trend with our industry. So the electrification, if you will. And then the second thing, walking around, especially this morning, the automation. Robotics, and I think that ties into the labor shortage too. Mm-hmm. A lot of customers talking to us, Bastian, Toyota Raymond, about their inability to find workers, and can it be automated? Can this process that we used to have an operator, or driver, or warehouse person, can it be automated? I think that's a common question nowadays. Especially because of the labor shortage, but because the technology is much better than it was 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right, very interesting to get those insights from you. I was curious, as you're head of a big material handling company here, and what you're seeing kind of on the horizon. So it's very interesting to hear that, and also interesting to hear what your companies are hearing from the floor as well. So I think that we're only growing and expanding upon those technologies, as you said, and it's becoming a lot more easier for consumers to digest in a way, I think.
That's a great point. Tied in with that, maybe a third thing I'm noticing is big data. So you hear about big data in the world, but it's made its way into our material handling industry with data that you can find on even forklifts. So forklifts have technology now that can stream data back to the plant manager and tell them everything they wanted to know about the forklift, about where it was and how it operated and how efficient it was and how it can be more productive. And customers are really embracing the telematics type of data that's now becoming more available, and it's making the customer more efficient and better at what they do.
It's giving that.
It's great to see that in our world now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it gives that visibility that was not quite there before, and now you're able to see some things, and it can be eye-opening to where you're seeing some waste and different things that maybe you really had no idea or never thought about. So it's very interesting, those things that are coming out there.
Absolutely, and it ties into my other trends I was talking about. Electrification, batteries, the lithium-ion batteries can be monitored better than ever before. When does it need a charge? When doesn't it? And then the automation world. Data will help justify the automation. Robotics.
Yeah, definitely. So very interesting talking to you, Brett, and I want to thank you for coming by the booth and having some time for me and giving us some insights into your thoughts. And we know what gives you struggles with your sleep now as well. So very good to hear about that. And so if people want to find out more information about Toyota Material Handling North America, how can they do that?
We have a Toyota website, toyotaforklift.com, and raymondcorp.com. So either way is probably the best way to go. And and I'll always take anybody's emails or phone calls too. I love to talk to potential customers, partners, suppliers. Being 32 years in the industry, it's pretty much what I eat, sleep, and drink. So pretty passionate about it.
All right, great. And we'll put all that information at thenewwarehouse.com so people can easily find it. So, Brett, thank you once again for coming by the booth, and enjoy the rest of your show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Enjoyed it.